Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Linderman Unleashed. I am glad to have you here. I am really glad to have you here for this Wednesday, the first inaugural edition of, I'm going to tell you what, this is great, New World Order Wednesday. You're going to love it. I've got Jeff Hayes on the program today, author of the new book, Rise of the New World Order, The Calling of Man. He sent me this book, and I'm absolutely blown away. I know I've talked about it on the radio show for a number of weeks now, but we've got the man who wrote it here on the program today. He's going to be on the program for at least the next couple of Wednesdays. I kind of roped him into more than one interview. We're going to be talking about that as soon as we get back from the break. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a barn burner. We'll be right back. You're listening to Linderman Unleashed.
Hey, mister, that's a mighty big dog you got there.
Help me, Jesus! Help me, Jewish God! Help me, Allah! Ah! Help me, Tom Cruise!
It's Linderman Unleashed on Natural News Radio.
You tell him I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
All opinions and views expressed on Linderman Unleashed are strictly those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Natural News Radio. Warning, this program might cause you to think for yourself. Listener discretion is advised. And now, here's your host, Curt Linderman.
This is going to be the country or the conflict or the place that will define the Obama administration, what would it be?
I think his task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created.
Books. There is very little call for the services of a librarian. Case in point, a minister. A minister would tell us that his function is that of preaching the word of God. And of course it follows that since the state has proven that there is no God, that would make the function of a minister somewhat academic as well.
There is a God.
You are in error, Mr. Wordsworth. There is no God.
You cannot erase God with an edict.
You are obsolete, Mr. Wordsworth.
I am nothing more than a reminder to you that you cannot destroy truth.
You're a bug, Mr. Wordsworth.
I am a human being. I exist. And if I speak one thought aloud, that thought lives even after I'm shoveled into my grave.
Delusions, Mr. Wordsworth. Delusions.
A new world order. A new world order. A new world order.
That's right, folks. Welcome to Linderman Unleashed. I'm your host, Curt Linderman Sr., bringing you the bare-knuckled right hook of truth to any that would try to put the chokehold on your liberty and health freedom. It is New World Order Wednesday, the inaugural edition. Jeff Hayes is on the program with me. We're going to be talking about his new book. Jeff, my brother, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Brother Curt. How you doing?
I am doing wonderful. First off, I want to say thank you for sending me the book and contacting me about possibly doing an interview. And thank you for writing the book. And the last thank you for you is thanks for agreeing to do a number of interviews with me for my listening audience.
Oh, you're super welcome. Glad you got the book. Glad you like it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing a few interviews for sure. There's so much material to cover. We could do interviews probably all year. So we'll just take it this first interview, and then we'll just keep pumping them out, and hopefully wake some people up and turn them on to my book, which I am giving away for free for sure on the ebook format to try to wake a ton of people up. So just trying to do my part to fight the New World Order, man.
Well, you know, that's one of the things that I really found genuine about you when we first talked, and when I realized you contacted me, said, hey, check out this book, and now you sent me a hard copy to read, which I definitely appreciate. You signed it and everything, which was really cool. But just knowing that you're not out there trying to make a buck. You're giving this book away. You're doing it for all the right reasons. You feel that it's more important to just wake people up.
Oh, totally. Yeah, because it was written and intended to be given away for free to start when I first started messing with it, because that would be the only way really to get this knowledge into a quantity of people's hands that need to do it in order to affect a real change. If I was to just sell it, it would take forever to get it to get this very important information to people's hands. So I'm like, screw it. I'm giving this thing away for free. Let's wake some people up. You know, if we wake enough people up, it might be able to save the country, because right now the people running this New World Order are slowly but surely going to jerk the rug right out from under us, and it's just not going to be a good deal. So we got to wake some people up, or we're all done for. So had to do it for free. But I am selling it on. I got it on Amazon. I got it on my website on the paperback version. So. I got it on the Kindle on Amazon. Obviously, I'm charging a couple bucks over there for it to help distribute it that way. But for sure, people can download this thing absolutely for free at my website. They can put it in emails, and they can send it out to people. They can put the PDF file on their website. They can do whatever they want, just spread it around, and I welcome any criticism or questions on it for sure, which I've not gotten a lot of, because people are reading it and then they're checking the stuff for themselves and finding out that I really did do my homework, and this thing can stand up to Google search on virtually anything in it. So that's about where I'm at with it.
Well, and I'll tell you what, first off, because, hey, let's get right to it. You've got a wealth of information in this book, and it's stuff that everybody needs to know about. And as I've said on previous shows where I've talked about your book, I thought I knew a lot about the New World Order, but you giving away this information, it must have been extensive research to figure this all out and put it down in paperback form, or in, on paper on the computer. But let's talk about, first off, what woke you up to realizing the New World Order, and what made you decide, I've got to do something to wake other people up?
Well, the crazy thing about this whole deal is I've known all my life, even when I was a little kid, that there is something very wrong with the world. There was just something really dark and evil, and I knew it was always there, but I never knew what it was. So I'm just going through life going, yeah, there's just something in the background that's just not right. And then in 2007, the Zeitgeist movie came out, which sort of explains the New World Order from like an atheist point of view. And I was an atheist at the time, so I was like, oh, I know this all makes a lot of sense. Saw the stuff about the 9/11 stuff and the Federal Reserve and all this stuff. I'm like, I'm watching the Zeitgeist movie, my jaw's hitting the floor, because all this stuff is suddenly just clicking and clicking and clicking. All these light bulbs are going off in my head. This is it. This is the exact thing that I've known about all my life. So all these light bulbs started going off. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to the bottom of this business right now. So that was back in 2007. So I just jumped into this both feet, started just Googling YouTube vids and Google videos, and just soaking up all this information, learning about all this stuff. And then, starting to dawn on me, this is really bad stuff, and it's going to be even worse for my kids. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try to get to the bottom of this, and if I'm going to all this trouble learning all this stuff, I might as well try to either make a manual about it or write a little book about it or whatever. So I started keeping track of all these files on different stuff like the Federal Reserve and United Nations and Bilderberg Group, and I've got all these files. All of a sudden, I'm starting to collect up, and just with all this information, and pretty soon I'm like, okay, I'm going to start trying to put this into a book. So I started. I came up with an outline, started messing around with it, but it just wasn't clicking because I was still looking at the New World Order from an atheist point of view, and on all these people, I'm finding that all these people that are wide awake to the New World Order and fighting it, they're all Christians. I'm like, how can these people be smart enough to know about this New World Order business, and then they're still falling for this religion trap? And then that's when I really started digging into the religious end of it, trying to answer those questions. And that's when I came into contact with some of this other stuff about this guy named King Nimrod, who's actually is the architect of the New World Order. And when I found out that he is that guy, and all the stuff that's talked about in the Bible, all throughout the Bible, this stuff, they're warning about these exact people who I describe in my book that started the New World Order and run it. Once I started figuring out that all this stuff there is in the Bible, that's when I came around and got back with God and Christ, which I was raised a Christian, but I got away from it for a long time when I was a teenager, all the way up to probably about 2008, 2009, after waking up. So through the process of researching my book, I went from a total atheist to a convinced Christian, because this stuff is guaranteed, talked about in the Bible. We're warned about it, exactly who it is, what they've done, what they're going to do, the whole shebang. So, and as soon as I got back with God, that's when the book really clicked, and the whole outline, the whole sphere of the conspiracy was just kind of shown to me, for lack of a better term, and how to put it all together. So I guess the point of the book, of putting the book out, was to wake people up and to show them not only that stuff's real, but how I was turned from an atheist into a Christian through the acquisition and interpretation of all this knowledge that I came across and was shown, and and people are really digging it. I've got, if anybody wants to, for verification, I've got a lot of emails I put on my website on testimonials page, but I've also got I'm building quite a book reviews over on Amazon.com. If anyone wants to check those out, those are also pretty interesting to read. That people are really digging what I put together. So,
well, yeah, and I plan on doing the Amazon review, but I want to finish the book. And you called and said, hey, Curt, let's get together, but let's do it after you've read the book. And I'm just itching, with the information that I've already learned from your book, to get these interviews started. And what's really cool about it is the early part's still fresh in my mind. Everybody that listens to the program knows I have to do research upon research for these shows. I'm on an hour a day, and I can't afford to look like an idiot not knowing what I'm talking about. So I spend a lot of time on medical journals and articles and things like that. So I have a very limited time where I can read for enjoyment. But I'm telling you what, this book, if you're awake, this is enjoyment. I haven't read a novel, and I can't tell you when, because I just don't have time. I'm trying to save the planet. But it's really great that you were raised Christian, but yet you kind of got away from it. But yet you say, as a young adult, you still knew that there was what you even described as dark and evil out there. And I think that's really where it really begins, is that whole fight, that time immemorial fight between good and evil. And I think there's some organizations out there within the New World Order, and actually the New World Order itself, that has that battle skewed a lot. And when we get back from the break, that's what I want to start talking about, is the biblical aspect of the New World Order that got you to start thinking about Christianity again. I don't want to turn this into a sermon, but it really is amazing. The Bible does tell us all this stuff is going to happen. So when we get back from the break, that's where we're going to start the interview anew. We will be right back. You're listening to Linderman Unleashed. The health benefits of kombucha have been known for centuries. Kombucha promotes detoxification and immune system health, as well as boosting your energy levels. June is less known, in fact, very secretive, but equally important to great health. Kombucha and June teas aren't just tasty and good for you, they're actually considered to be a therapy for optimal health. These tea-based drinks can cost anywhere from $4 to $15 per bottle, and companies can't seem to keep them in stock. Kim's Kombucha and June Supply Company has just launched with the sole intention of making these incredible drinks available to you and your family. Why buy expensive bottles when you can brew these teas at home for a fraction of the cost? Kim's Kombucha and June Supply Company sells complete continuous brew systems as well as resupplies of Kim's exclusive blend of free trade organic teas, honey, and sugar. Order your continuous brew system today and start feeling better tomorrow. Visit kimskombucha.com today. Kim's Kombucha and June systems are sold exclusively through boxorganics.com. Hey, Doc, why don't you listen to Linderman Unleashed?
You can't handle the truth!
All right, folks, thanks for staying with us. It is New World Order Wednesday. We're talking about the book, Rise of the New World Order, The Calling of Man by Jeff Hayes. And Jeff's on for the next couple of Wednesdays at least. He's here on the phone with us now, or I should say via Skype. And Jeff, let's talk about what you kind of briefly touched upon in the beginning of the program, King Nimrod. That blew me away. I had no idea about the biblical aspect of the New World Order.
Yeah, the King Nimrod guy, he's in the Bible. He is told to us in the Bible that he's the great grandson of Noah. He's the founder of Babylon. He was responsible for building the Tower of Babel. A lot of people know about all that, but they don't know who this King Nimrod guy is. But if you look into him, you will find factually that all of our holidays that are supposedly Christian are all really based on this King Nimrod guy. And I'm talking Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day, Lent, and Halloween at a minimum are all based factually on this one guy who is the architect of the New World Order. And I also, not to get too deep here, but I also do believe that he is the biblical Antichrist, because he's such a significant figure to these people running the Luciferian New World Order. He is their God. He's the guy that's the all-seeing eye. That's King Nimrod's watching over his New World Order plan, marching forward from beyond the grave, and they're going to bring him back to life, I believe, using our modern day DNA technology. I believe they're running around with his DNA, and I think they've been passing it down through the secret societies for thousands of years. They want to bring this particular guy back to life so he can once again helm the New World Order that he was the architect of back in approximately 2200 BC, give or take 100 years right in there. But if you go and look him up, that's the part that really freaked me out and got me knowing that there's some really dark stuff going on, that all of our holidays, all of our Christian holidays are factually based upon this guy's legacy. Him and his wife, Queen Semiramis, and their son, Tammuz, are the original unholy trinity that all the pagan gods are based on down the line after that. So from Babylon, went over to Egypt. That's where you get Osiris and Isis, and then their baby Horus. That's all based on King Nimrod's Babylonian mystery religion, and that's been passed on all throughout the Middle East and Europe and for the last few thousand years. But basically, in a nutshell, the people running the world today are the same group of Luciferians that have been running it all the way since the days of King Nimrod. It's his followers, the Babylonian mystery religion, that have always been running stuff from behind the scenes, and I trace that real good in my book.
What I'm really liking about it is how you really trace it back, and you use scripture to explain all of this, but you also use history and verified history of what was going on. The whole Tower of Babel story and how you tied in what we call the Christian holidays amazed me. Now, the one thing that I got to ask you, and you really don't mention it in the book, but I want your opinion on this. It got to the point when I was reading the book that I started feeling guilty, and of course it's right around Christmas time where I'm reading this book, and I started feeling guilty about having a Christmas tree in my house, and I started feeling guilty about celebrating Christmas and Valentine's Day, which I don't really, other than getting my wife a gift or something, but all these holidays, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is all based on the Babylonian mystery religion. How do Christians, because I'm a Christian reading this book, how do Christians work that out in their head? What is your thought on that?
It's a pretty treacherous slope to navigate for sure as a Christian, because all of those, they call them holidays, and that's short for holy days, and they should really be calling them unholy days. Now, it's not a bad thing to say as a Christian for sure, because we're just talking facts about this stuff here. Right. But all, Christmas, Easter, all this stuff you can totally Google this and trace this all back to this Babylonian mystery religion. But, when I was raised, Christmas, the tree, the presents, and all this stuff, so I'm still having if I was single, I would totally wash my hands of all the holiday stuff, absolutely, because we're told not to learn the ways of the pagan. That's a Bible quote, right? And that's all that stuff is all pagan rites, pagan ceremonies way back from King Nimrod. So I got to weigh it, like with my wife. She knows about this New World Order stuff. She doesn't want to know the nuts and bolts because it scares the crap out of her. Yeah. But, I got a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old little girls, and they're, before I woke up, we're doing Christmas and the tree. And so I still get, I still bite the bullet, get a tree to keep my wife happy and the kids and stuff. But I'm slowly trying to wean them off of that. So I don't know what would be less of a sin. It would be either to get divorced or to go along with the wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do hear you there,
so
man.
I got to weigh that, man.
So the one thing is, I don't want to spend too much time on one topic, because really what I want to do is whet the appetite of my listeners so that they go out there. It's free, for God's sake. All you got to do is look up the information. I'm going to have it. You'll be able to get the link to the book, the website, and the Facebook page during this show at LindermanUnleashed.com. I'll have all the links for you on today's show. but I want to get further on because really I want you to get the book to really learn a lot about this. But the one thing that Nimrod did, the culmination of the great plan, is the New World Order. And so let's talk a little bit about this great plan that Nimrod had that has been passed on since those biblical Old Testament times to really today.
So the great plan I refer to in my book is actually based on the fall of man from the Genesis story of the Garden of Eden, where mankind, Adam and Eve, were tempted with they say it was an apple or a pomegranate or whatever, but that story is a metaphor for mankind being able to. Adam and Eve were shown by Lucifer that if they were able to get enough through the acquisition of knowledge, that eventually they would be able to be gods themselves on the earth and be able to not only control the earth with what they're doing now with the weather and all this crazy stuff, but they could also live forever probably through DNA technology, being able to basically reincarnate yourself over and over and over. So you your old body would die, but you could have a new body that's basically the exact carbon copy of you. So in essence, you're going to live forever, which is the whole gist of this whole New World Order thing. It's not only to take over the world and to get the one world government. It is to try to bring back, I believe, King Nimrod, bring him back from the grave and basically just resurrect him from using his DNA. And then I don't know how they're going to go about doing if they're going to they'll probably do some kind of a black magic ceremony in order to get his soul out of the abyss where it's supposedly at right now. This is pretty heavy stuff to talk about for sure.
Well, sure, but these people believe in this abyss. That's the one thing, because one thing that I'm learning, and this is one thing that I've known for a long time, but your book really puts it into perspective for me. From King Nimrod all the way to communism, people think that the New World Order is full of a bunch of atheists, but they're Luciferians, and to be a Luciferian, you have to believe in God.
Yep.
So, that's the one thing that whether we believe or not, that they'll be able to resurrect King Nimrod's body via the cloning and the DNA and all of that, basically a Nimrodian Jurassic Park, I guess. Whether we believe that could happen or not, they do, and I'm telling you that I believe that the technology's there, but whether they can resurrect his soul from the abyss, whether we believe that or not, they sure as heck do.
Oh, yeah. And they come across as, they could be atheists or, Obama says he's a Christian and all that, but he's really part of this little clique where he's nothing more than a puppet for sure. And I know you probably know, Curt, that doesn't matter who's in there, if it's Obama or Bush or Romney or Clinton or whatever, they all work for the same puppet masters, the people that own the Federal Reserve. And, the people that are running the world now, they are the same people that have been running it forever. But, back in the day, back in Nimrod's day, back in Egypt's day, they would do human sacrifices and all this stuff in public as a public ceremony, as a public spectacle. So the people that are running the world today are those same people that were doing that stuff back then. And I believe they are still doing that stuff today. They're just not doing it in public. They're doing it behind the scenes and stuff. And I go into that a little bit in my book, like the Bohemian Grove, where they're doing the mock human sacrifice in front of the giant statue of Moloch, who is it's actually another name for Nimrod, if you look into that.
Right.
So
it's all creepy. I'll tell you.
Creepy, crazy stuff, and truth is stranger than fiction, man.
Absolutely. So we've got this great plan. How has that morphed? What was Nimrod's great plan? It's just really ruling the known world.
Yep. He after the flood, he's the first guy to basically get to organize a big civilization, which was Babylon, or Mesopotamia, Babylon, that whole area in there. That was all his doing. So basically, he ran the first New World Order back then, because they controlled the entire known world at the time back then.
Right.
Until God came. It says in the Bible that they're building the Tower of Babel, and God came down and said, "Okay, if man sets his mind to whatever he wants to do, he's going to do it." So that's when God confused the languages and all these different people took Nimrod's Babylonian mystery religion, spread it all over the world. Nimrod knew that eventually they would be able to have the technology to bring him back to life.
Right.
I go into that way more in my book, but I mean, all the pieces are coming together right now. The United Nations is the infant one world government. That's exactly what it is. It is a world government. That's what the United Nations is, and it was started and founded by the same people that own the Federal Reserve, the same people who are responsible for starting all these world wars, and it just on down the line. It's just the same. If you look into it, it's just the same group of people over and over and over doing all this stuff, and it's because that's what they're prophesized to do. But that's
their calling. That's their belief system.
That's exactly. They've been completely deceived that what they're doing is they will be somehow be rewarded in the next after they die. They're not going to go to hell. They're going to go to some other paradise with Lucifer or whatever they believe. Even with all I know, I don't even know exactly what they believe. All we can do is research and hypothesize. They don't call those things secret societies for nothing, for sure.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to have to take our last break. When we get back, we're going to be talking about some secret societies, starting off with some of the societies that you might not think are real secretive. Judaism, Roman Catholicism, and Mormonism. You're listening to Linderman Unleashed. The health benefits of kombucha have been known for centuries. Kombucha and June promotes detoxification and immune system health, as well as boosting your energy levels. Kombucha and June teas aren't just tasty and good for you, they're actually considered to be a therapy for optimal health. These tea-based drinks can cost anywhere from $4 to $10 per bottle, and companies can't seem to keep them in stock. Kim's Kombucha and June Supply Company was started with the sole intention of making these incredible drinks available to you and your family without the expense. Now you can brew these teas at home for a fraction of the cost. Kim's Kombucha and June Supply Company sells complete continuous brew systems for kombucha and June teas, as well as Kim's exclusive blend of free trade organic teas, honey, and sugar to continue brewing these healthy drinks. Order your continuous brew system today and start feeling better tomorrow. Visit kimskombucha.com today. Hey folks, it's Curt Linderman. There are some drawbacks to being the firebrand politically incorrect host that I am. One of those is trying to find potential advertisers with the balls to place their products and services on a program with the content that mine has. That's why I started the Linderman Unleashed store at lindermanunleashed.com. We're now selling Kim's Kombucha and June products exclusively at the LU shop, as well as an incredible line of hot tub enzymes that will allow your family to enjoy your hot tub without all of those nasty chemicals. I personally use this product. We're selling the Autism File magazine back issues and our very own Linderman Unleashed t-shirts that are guaranteed to fire up a debate. I have decided that listener support is the only way to continue to bring you the news and commentary that I do without worrying about an advertiser's panties getting in a bunch. So do me a favor and check out the Linderman Unleashed shop at lindermanunleashed.com today. Shop rabid, my friends.
And now back to my daddy, Curt Linderman.
The mob has plans. The cops have plans. They're schemers. Schemers trying to control their little world. I'm not a schemer. I try to show the schemers how pathetic their attempts to control things really are.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
Yeah, you got that right. All right, folks, thanks for staying with us. It is New World Order Wednesday. I'm here with Jeff Hayes, author of the book Rise of the New World Order, The Calling of Man. Jeff, really, I believe that they've made their statements pretty well, that their belief, the New World Order's belief, is that Lucifer is the good guy and that God is the dark one, because God's the one that let us come down here on this planet and then gave us free will and pretty much let death come and all these tragedies and everything, and Lucifer saying, hey, come with me and you just have a good old time.
Yeah, it's their position that the Creator God was unjust and unfair, just trying to keep mankind around, just basically as just to worship him, and that's what we were put here to do. We weren't put here to try to usurp God's power, which is what the whole Luciferian agenda is for sure. So some of the most incriminating evidence that of their position with Lucifer comes from the Freemasonic prophets, for lack of a better word, like Albert Pike and Helena Blavatsky and Alice Bailey. Those, even though there's no women in Freemasonry, those women are highly regarded in Masonic circles. But if you just dig into what these people said in the past, you know what they've said in their books, all these people, all these Freemasonic prophets, all wrote these crazy books, all by what they would call automatic hand, which is a fancy way of saying they were just demonically channeled. I go into a lot of that much better in those separate chapters about each of those individual personalities. But they've got so many quotes showing that they are indeed Luciferians, and they think Lucifer is the good guy and the Creator God is the bad guy, for trying to withhold what they think is our true potential, that we can become gods on this earth and not need the Creator God.
Yeah, the analogy that I take is the big boss and the union guy, the union president, and the union president is always telling the workers what a piece of crap the big boss is, and he tries to get them all to come over to his way of thinking and threatening to strike and everything, and then the big boss can just say, fine, you're all fired. And then the union boss can't pay the paychecks.
Exactly. That's a good analogy for sure.
That's the way I take it, you know.
Yeah, that's a good analogy for sure. It's eventually those paychecks will be cut off for forever.
Yeah, until the final payment comes due, I guess.
That's it, brother.
Let's talk about Judaism real quick. There is a lot of talk in your book, and I don't think you're an anti-Semite. You don't hate Jews or anything. Nope. I get some of these people that are into the New World Order thing, and oh my God, if you're a Jew, you're just like the worst person on earth. But what I see is the Judaism that you talk about in your book really makes sense to me. Explain that a little bit.
Well, so Judaism today is basically the modern-day torchbearers of the original Hebrews who have the pact through Abraham with God. That the whole Hebrew Abraham thing started exactly when King Nimrod was running the world. In fact, if you go, I think it's the book of Jasher or Jubilees. I'm learning, still doing more research, but I guess King Nimrod actually had an encounter with Abraham in one of those books where Nimrod told Abraham to either bow to his idol or something or another, or he's going to so he threw Abraham into the furnace, and Abraham just standing there in all this fire, and God's protecting him. So back to the Judaism thing. So all this stuff goes down the line. So let's just stick with the modern day Judaism. Modern day Judaism is just they're kind of the modern day torchbearers of the original Abrahamic pact with God. But being that Judaism is so old, kind of been infiltrated over many thousands of years also with the Kabbalism and all this other stuff that's literally is occult, black magic, Luciferianism stuff. That's what Kabbalism is.
Right.
And those are the quote unquote Jews who are the synagogue of Satan that Jesus Christ calls out in the New Testament. So it's almost like you've got Jews who say they're Jews, but they're really the synagogue of Satan hiding within Judaism. That's where you get the Rothschilds and all these other people that are really running the financial end of this New World Order. But the bad thing is they've got so much money and so much power. They've kind of sucked up a lot of the rest of the Jewish faith into their financial tornado, or however you want to call this huge financial monstrosity that the Rothschilds and the rest of the synagogue of Satan have built. I wouldn't say it's anti-Semitic at all to talk about this stuff for sure, because we're just trying to get to the bottom of it.
Right. And you're a Christian, and the next part of your book actually talks about the Roman Catholic Church. Now, I would like to say I've got a lot of friends. In fact, my business partner is a Roman Catholic, and him and his wife actually got married in the Vatican, and they're good people. But the Roman Catholic Church that you talk about, when you're talking about Judaism and the Kabbalism that's turned into the Satanists, I guess you could say, we've got that as well in the Christian religion, and it's called the Roman Catholic religion.
Yep. In fact, get to the bottom of the Vatican and Roman Catholicism. After Christ died and Christianity kind of started to take off, the Roman Empire at the time was basically run by the New World Order crowd. The same people that are following the Babylonian mystery religion were running the Roman Empire at the time. That's where all their gods came from. All their pagan gods and all that stuff is all based. You can trace all that stuff back to Nimrod and his Babylonian mystery religion.
Right.
And so Christ came and went, and Christianity's kind of starting to take off. So these people running the New World Order at the time, they're like, we got to do something about this Christianity. It's starting to catch fire. So they started, obviously they're feeding. If anyone said they're a Christian, they're going to feed them to the lions. Well, eventually the lions, they can only eat so much. So finally the people around the Roman Empire started going, this thing, we're not going to be able to stop this thing. If we don't co-opt it or usurp it, it's going to steamroll right over us, and we're going to lose our empire. So instead of trying to fight Christianity, they took it, brought it under their umbrella of control, and basically melded it with the Babylonian mystery religion. That's how Roman Catholicism started. It's a cross between pure Christianity and King Nimrod's Babylonian mystery religion. That's where you get the whole thing with God, Mary, Jesus, the Mary, Queen of Heaven. That is purely based on King Nimrod's Babylonian mystery religion of Nimrod, Semiramis, and their baby Tammuz, which is a counterfeit of the real prophecy, which they knew about back then, of the Savior, which came and went with Jesus. So Roman Catholicism, right out of the gate, was a totally corrupted form of Christianity, mixing pure good with basically pure evil. And then they went on a tear after that, with the Inquisition and all this other stuff that they did.
Yeah, the Crusades.
The Crusades and all this stuff that people hate Christianity for, because it was just the atrocities they committed were what they were doing was nothing at all what Jesus would have approved of or wanted his name stamped on. But they did all this terrible crap that people look back now and they just get a bad taste in their mouth for Christianity. And that was probably the point of it to start with, was to separate mankind from the truth of what really Christ wanted us to be, and that's love your neighbor as yourself.
And I'll tell you what, we've got Judaism, Roman Catholicism. You talk about Mormonism and the Babylonian mystery religion there, and we're going to pass over that because I just urge everybody, there's a chapter in this book for a lot of the stuff that we're talking about that's dedicated right to these certain individuals or certain religions. But one thing I do want to get to before we get to the Freemasonry is talk about the occultism, because that's one thing. I mean, I'm seeing it now. I'm wrestling with that in my own family. I'm concerned with what's going on in modern days, and it's not new. It's something that's been going on for the ages.
Oh, totally. A lot of this stuff actually started before even King Nimrod. I'm going to talk a lot about this in my next book. I'm doing a lot of research about the Watchers, the fallen angels who were supposedly sent here to kind of watch over humanity, but instead they saw how beautiful the women were and decided to mate with them, and they caused all these problems. But those fallen angels in the pre-flood world taught mankind all this occult stuff, how to do astrology and how to summon spirits and just do all this crazy stuff, and that somehow got passed. Somehow Nimrod got his hands on all that information and incorporate a lot of that what you'd call today black magic or warlock, whatever you want to call all this black magic occult stuff. That the people who know the most about that stuff are the people running the world today. It's because they use that stuff. Supposedly they can look into the future with that stuff. Then supposedly these spirits are just kind of telling them what to do in certain areas to keep this thing marching along. But I'm going to actually go into a lot more of that fallen angel stuff and how all this stuff really manifests itself in my next book I'm working on right now. But for sure, the gist of everything that's going on is all in this first book of mine that people can get for free. There's nothing was left out of this first book. That everything that was important, I felt enough went into this first book, and when I'm working on the next book, it's just kind of supplemental to this first book, which is really going to be the anchor of what I hope to accomplish in my life, which is to turn out a few books. So we'll just see what happens here.
Right. Well, and I really appreciate, as I said, you being here to talk about it. But now let's go to what I believe, what I see is the real tie between what we would call the old day New World Order, I guess, the olden times, or whatever you want to call it, and that bridge that brings it to modern times, Freemasonry. And I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you. I was a business owner back in Galesburg, Illinois, and I had some buddies at church with me that, said, hey, it'd be a very good business decision to become a Mason because we take care of each other. And I went in there and went into the temple, and we started talking, and everybody's talking about how they love God, and many of them were members of my church, and it was, hey, this is all about God and everything, because I'm like, hey, I've been reading some really nasty stuff regarding this Masonry stuff. Oh, no, that's not the case and everything, and they actually got me to get my first degree, and as I was going through the ceremony, I got this feeling that was absolutely creepy, and I got out of there.
Nice.
It was amazing, man, up to the point where they make you face the east. And I knew right when they had you going to face the east, I mean, they make you take off all your clothes and you're in this, cloth, this robe. You're going through all this stuff, and then they say this is part of the thing, and you're going to face east. And I'm like, I know what facing east means and what that east star is and all of that crap. And I'm like, I am out of here. But it is pretty damn creepy. So let's talk about Freemasonry. Let's just, we've only got about 6 or 7, maybe 8 minutes left in the program. Let's talk about the start of Freemasonry, how that got started, and then maybe next program we can move on with how it's morphed from there.
Okay, Freemasonry, so probably 99.9% of all Freemasons nowadays don't have a clue that their organization is really based on King Nimrod's Babylonian mystery religion. In fact, Freemasonic publications themselves actually say that King Nimrod is regarded as the first Freemason. And that's something else that people can Google. But basically, Freemasonry today is just the modern day incarnation of Nimrod's Babylonian mystery religion, and it's structured just like it was back then. The top upper echelon, the top 0.05% of the people running it are the Luciferians. And everyone below them, as you go further and further down that ladder, they have less and less knowledge about what's really going on. And to take it down to the first 3 levels of Masonry, which is the Blue Lodge Masonry, which is what most of them are. You're not even close. You got until you get to the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, you don't know really what's going on, the whole shebang. But Freemasonry just grew out of Rosicrucianism, which was the previous incarnation of the Babylonian mystery religion, and the one before that, a lot of people probably have heard of the Knights Templar,
right?
And they were on their way to taking over the world back then with that version of Nimrod's Babylonian mystery religion. But what the Catholic Church recognized that they finally recognized that we're getting way too much power, so they had to take it away from them. But throughout the last couple of thousand years, there's been a huge competition between what I would call the Synagogue of Satan / the Kabbalists. There's like a branch of that that started up the Knights Templar, but that in opposition to them, who are also Luciferians, though, are the people running the Vatican. So they have kind of been going back and forth at each other since Christ died over who was going to be leading this Luciferian plan. And they finally buried the hatchet. I can't remember. It was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. They buried the hatchet when the Vatican formally recognized the existence of Israel. And that's when they kind of buried the hatchet. So now they've virtually teamed up. Both factions of this New World Order business have teamed up recently in order to take the torch and run across the finish line, because we're getting darn close to the end of the story here, actually. So back to Freemasonry. Hardly anybody in Freemasonry really knows the true intent of their organization to start with, and it's kind of like a good old boys club now. That's what people kind of think of it as. But at the top of it, the evil's there, and it permeates down through those layers. So if people are in Freemasonry, I would advise them to get out.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about, with the Knights Templar and everything, we've got Freemasonry, what we consider Freemasonry now, didn't have its origins in Germany?
Are you talking about the Illuminati with Adam Weishaupt? Or?
Yeah, the Illuminati, which really has the Illuminati, isn't that what's really turned into the Masonry now, or is that completely separate.
The masonry kind of formally started in the early 1700s. And then, but the people who were in the Illuminati, they knew the true intent of Freemasonry. But when they started the Illuminati, they started that in order to basically do a hostile takeover of Freemasonry, which they did accomplish.
Right.
I go way into this, way better in my book for sure. But and even like George Washington and Ben Franklin, these guys, a lot of our founding fathers were Freemasons and actually part of the conspiracy, but they didn't want to go along with the Illuminati's hostile takeover of Freemasonry. So they actually made quite a few statements about it, which I put into my book. But for the most part, the Illuminati are the upper echelon of the modern day Freemasons now. So anytime you hear Illuminati, true Illuminati are 33rd degree Freemasons or above, which is a 33rd degree Freemason is basically a certified Luciferian following and promoting King Nimrod's plan to get for this New World Order business.
So the Freemasonry ties, everything back to the Knights Templar and beyond, all the way up to what we're seeing now with the Illuminati, with the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all of them. We're really seeing it still happening today. The evilness of the Freemasons and the New World Order.
Yep, and the Rothschilds, they are basically the head. The Rothschild family is basically the head of what people would know as the Illuminati. They're probably closest in terms of being close to what I would say close to Lucifer. They're probably, who knows what they're doing behind the scenes, but they were shown or given the knowledge of how to work this whole fiat money system where you're creating money out of thin air and charging people interest and debt on this money they're creating out of thin air. It's crazy. But that pretty much started with the Knights Templar, where people would want to go to the Holy Lands. They put their gold in a Templar bank in one area, and they'd get a paper receipt for it. They'd make their journey, and they'd turn their paper receipt in, 500 miles later or whatever. But the Templars figured out that they could start printing receipts on gold that they didn't have. So they started printing up all these paper receipts way back then, back in the 1300s, whatever it was. They started buying up all this stuff and borrowed all of a sudden, it takes money to make money. All of a sudden they've got all this money at their disposal, and they immediately put it to work trying to take over Europe and the Middle East. And finally the Vatican saw it for what it was and stomped it out. So,
right. Well, and I'll tell you what, next show, that's where I'd like to start the show, is basically that money, that finance system that is so integral to the New World Order's plan, and we'll take it right from the Templars right on up to the Fed today and beyond. We're out of time, so quick, how can people get your book?
They go to my website, download it absolutely for free. It's SamaritanSentinel.com, just like a good Samaritan, and then Sentinel, like a watchman, all one word, SamaritanSentinel.com. You can download it for free there. You can put it in emails and send it out to people. You can put the PDF on your website. I don't care. Just get it out there for sure. And I'm also selling the paperback copy there at my website, and I'm also selling it on Amazon.com on the Kindle and the paperback over there, just as an avenue to get it out there, maybe generate a little bit of income. But the big drive with this thing is it is free. Anybody can download it. If this thing's spread all over the world, I get emails from people in France and Australia, Italy, who came across my book, and they emailed me and said, "Thank you so much for writing this book. I'm spreading it around the country I'm in."
That is
so it's definitely
cool.
Spreading around. It's just a matter of will it spread fast enough to wake up enough people to do some real damage to this New World Order business? Because that was kind of in my mind as I started really editing this book and putting it together. I'm like, I need to build just like an atomic bomb of information that I can pass out, where people can just start detonating all this knowledge, getting it out there while we can, because all they got to do is shut the internet off, or at least you won't be able to double check a lot of the stuff I've said. But if you've got my book downloaded on your computer or whatever, if something happens, at least it'll tell you the gist of exactly what's going on, so people will know. So just download it for free and spread it like wildfire. People.
Absolutely. Well, and I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I can get you to it by going to LindermanUnleashed.com. Y'all know it. I'm going to have the link to Jeff's website so you can get the book. It's free. Get the paperback edition if you can. I love the paperback edition, but I like holding books in my hand. I do enough reading on the computer. Jeff, thanks so much for being on the program today. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to next week's program.
Thanks a bunch, Brother Curt, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday, man.
All right, stay on the line so I can say a formal goodbye after the program. Hey, folks, thanks for listening. Here at Linderman Unleashed, the gloves are always